Imagine a time when the world was said to be home to beings so extraordinary they could bend the rules of nature itself. Giants towering over mere mortals were described not only in ancient myths, but in religious texts like the Bible. What if these stories weren't just fantasy but fragments of a forgotten history? Today, we'll embark on an extraordinary journey to uncover the mysteries of the Nephilim, beings described as hybrids of sons of God and daughters of men. Could they have been real? Were they a cautionary tale, or a forgotten chapter of human evolution? Or perhaps they were something far stranger. Stay with me, and let's explore these mysteries together. The term Nephilim first appears in Genesis 6:4, a brief yet haunting reference. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. This passage raises more questions than it answers. Who were the sons of God? Were they angels, as some traditions suggest, or simply noble men? And why does this union result in giants described as men of renown? The lack of detail in the Bible has led to centuries of speculation, opening the door to interpretations that span religious, mythological, and even scientific realms. Let's break it down. The most common interpretation identifies the sons of God as fallen angels, celestial beings who defy divine law by intermingling with humans. This interpretation gains support from texts like the Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish work that paints a vivid picture of these beings, called the Watchers. According to Enoch, these angels not only took mortal wives, but also shared forbidden knowledge, teaching humanity metalworking, astronomy, and magic. Their offspring, the Nephilim, were not just giants in stature, but also in their capacity for destruction, spreading violence across the earth. However, not everyone agrees with this supernatural explanation. Some theologians argue that the sons of God were merely descendants of Seth, Adam's righteous son, while the daughters of men represented the unruly descendants of Cain. In this interpretation, the Nephilim are not hybrids of angels and humans, but symbolic of the moral corruption that plagued the pre-flood world. This dichotomy, the divine versus the mundane, is echoed in myths across cultures, from the Greek Titans to the Norse Jotnar. But what's even more fascinating is how these legends of giants consistently reappear in human history. Why does nearly every ancient civilization have tales of colossal beings who once walked the earth? Let's take a step back from the Bible and dive into the wider world. In ancient Greece, we hear of the Titans, primordial giants who waged war against the Olympian gods. Their fall echoes the biblical flood, a cosmic reset to rid the earth of chaotic forces. Similarly, Norse mythology speaks of the Jotnar, giant beings who represent the untamed forces of nature, often clashing with the gods of Asgard. Closer to home, Native American legends tell of red-haired giants in Nevada's Lovelock Cave. According to oral histories, these giants were fierce and cannibalistic, driven into hiding by indigenous tribes. Excavations in the early 20th century unearthed large skeletal remains, sparking debates that persist to this day. And then there are the enigmatic giants of the Solomon Islands. Locals describe them as towering figures with red hair and glowing eyes, said to dwell deep in the jungle. Unlike other legends, the Solomon giants are not relics of a forgotten past. They are claimed to exist even today. What makes these tales so compelling is their consistency across cultures and epochs. Could they all stem from the same root, a shared memory of a prehistoric encounter with beings far larger than ourselves? Science, of course, demands evidence. Despite numerous claims of giant skeletons being unearthed worldwide from China to North America, many have been debunked as hoaxes. Still, there are unexplained anomalies. Take the 1890s discovery of oversized bones in the Grand Canyon, or the 2002 reports of a 15-foot skeleton found in Saudi Arabia. Mainstream science attributes these findings to misidentifications or exaggerations, yet they feed the fire of those who believe giants were more than myth. And what about the Nephilim themselves? Some theorists suggest they could have been the result of genetic experimentation, possibly by advanced beings mistaken for gods. This idea ties into the ancient astronaut hypothesis, which posits that extraterrestrial visitors influenced early human civilizations. Were the Nephilim humanity's first experiment in hybridization, or were they merely a cautionary tale about the dangers of hubris? Consider this. Modern science has unlocked the human genome, allowing us to edit DNA with precision. Could ancient civilizations have possessed similar knowledge, handed down by beings like the Watchers? It's a tantalizing thought, one that blurs the line between mythology and futurism. Beyond their physical attributes, the Nephilim carry a deeper message. In nearly every account, these giants are portrayed as agents of chaos, symbols of what happens when humanity oversteps its bounds. The Bible's flood narrative is not just a story of destruction, but a call to humility, a reminder that there are forces greater than us. Yet, there's another layer. Some interpretations suggest that the Nephilim's downfall mirrors humanity's eternal struggle with forbidden knowledge. From the Garden of Eden to the modern age, our desire to be like gods has driven both innovation and catastrophe. Are the Nephilim a metaphor for our unquenchable thirst for power, or are they a warning of what awaits us if we lose our balance with the natural world? The story of the Nephilim begins in the Bible, within the book of Genesis, but the ripples of their legend extend far beyond its pages. Genesis 6:4 offers a cryptic yet captivating passage. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. This short verse has fascinated and perplexed theologians, historians, and storytellers for millennia. At its core, it describes a world where extraordinary beings, Nephilim, walked among humans. Yet, the text is sparse, leaving critical questions unanswered. Who were these sons of God who defied the natural order? Were the daughters of men merely human women, or did they symbolize something more? Most intriguingly, what exactly were the Nephilim, and why were they described as heroes of old? One of the most debated elements of the Nephilim story is the identity of the sons of God. The phrase, Bene Elohim in Hebrew, is rare but significant. It appears elsewhere in the Bible, such as in the book of Job, where it refers to angelic beings. This has led many to believe that the sons of God were fallen angels, celestial beings who abandoned their heavenly realm to intermingle with humanity. The Book of Enoch, a non-canonical Jewish text, provides an elaborate expansion of this idea. Written between the 3rd and 1st centuries BC, it recounts the tale of 200 watchers, angelic beings assigned to observe humanity. Led by a figure named Semyaza, these watchers were said to have been captivated by the beauty of human women. They made a pact to act together, descending to earth to take mortal wives, despite knowing it was forbidden. From these unions, the Nephilim were born beings of immense size, strength, and knowledge, who ultimately became symbols of corruption and chaos. But not everyone accepts this interpretation. Many theologians argue that the sons of God were not angels but descendants of Seth, Adam and Eve's righteous son. They proposed that the daughters of men represented the ungodly lineage of Cain, who killed his brother Abel. The intermarriage of these two groups, according to this view, symbolized the moral decline of humanity, with the Nephilim serving as a metaphor for this corruption. The idea that the Nephilim were giants is supported by both biblical and extra-biblical texts. Numbers 13:33 provides a striking example. We saw the Nephilim, they're the descendants of Anak, come from the Nephilim. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them. This verse describes the Anakites, a race of giant beings encountered by the Israelites during their exploration of the Promised Land. The Israelites were so dwarfed by these figures that they compared themselves to insects. Whether this description is literal or exaggerated, it cements the association of the Nephilim with extraordinary size and strength. Outside of Scripture, the idea of giants has echoed through countless cultures. In Greek mythology, the Titans were colossal beings who predated the Olympian gods. Similarly, Norse mythology describes the Jotnar or frost giants as primordial forces locked in eternal conflict with the gods. Even Hindu epics like the Mahabharata feature the Rakshasas, supernatural giants known for their strength and cunning. Could these stories be independent inventions, Or do they hint at a shared ancient memory of beings larger than life? Another compelling element of the Nephilim story is the role of the Watchers. According to the Book of Enoch, these angels did more than take mortal wives. They shared forbidden knowledge with humanity. They taught men the secrets of metalworking, enabling the creation of weapons. They revealed the mysteries of the stars and introduced magical practices. To the ancients, this knowledge was both a blessing and a curse. While it advanced civilization, it also unleashed destruction, as violence and moral corruption spread across the earth. This aspect of the story resonates with the biblical flood narrative. Genesis describes a world so steeped in wickedness that God decided to cleanse it with a deluge. The Nephilim, as both symbols and agents of this corruption, were central to the catastrophe, but their legacy didn't end with the flood. Genesis cryptically states, "The Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterward." What does this mean? Did some Nephilim survive the flood, or were they reborn in a new form? The description of the Nephilim as heroes of old, men of renown, invites comparisons to demigods from other cultures. Gilgamesh, the hero of Mesopotamian legend, is described as 2/3 god and 1/3 man hybrid figure whose strength and deeds are legendary. In Greek mythology, figures like Hercules and Achilles share similar characteristics, being born of divine and mortal parents. These stories, like the Nephilim, often highlight the tension between power and morality. While demigods are celebrated for their heroism, they are also prone to hubris and destruction. Is it possible that the Nephilim inspired these myths? Or were they part of a broader cultural phenomenon, a way for ancient societies to explain the extraordinary and the inexplicable? As we'll see, the Nephilim's story is as much about humanity as it is about giants and angels. The Nephilim's enigma continues to intrigue not only scholars but also modern audiences captivated by the intersection of history and mystery. Recent documentaries such as Unearthed Giants and In Search of the Watchers have revisited the possibility of ancient giants leveraging advanced technology to analyze archaeological evidence. One fascinating discovery occurred in 2016 when researchers in China uncovered skeletal remains from a 5,000-year-old Neolithic culture near the Yellow River. While not classified as Nephilim, these individuals stood significantly taller than others of their era, hinting at unique genetic or environmental factors. Could this be an echo of the ancient accounts of giant beings? Additionally, the Smithsonian Institution has long been a focal point for conspiracy theories surrounding giant skeletons allegedly found in North America. While no conclusive evidence has surfaced, the enduring tales of skeletons measuring over 10 feet in length fuel speculation about suppressed discoveries. Documentaries often explore whether these claims are a mix of folklore and misinformation, or if they point to a deliberate effort to rewrite human history. Recent studies in genomics also suggest a fascinating twist. With 4% of modern human DNA linked to Neanderthals, researchers speculate that interbreeding between ancient hominids and early humans may have inspired legends of giants. Imagine how encounters between prehistoric tribes and towering Neanderthal hybrids might have been immortalized in myth. Could the Nephilim be rooted in such early human experiences? The Nephilim narrative is steeped in the ancient world, a time when the line between history and mythology blurred. Archaeological findings across Mesopotamia, the Levant, and Egypt shed light on the civilizations that may have inspired the biblical flood story and its connection to the Nephilim. The Mesopotamian Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest surviving texts, recounts the exploits of Gilgamesh, a giant hero believed to be part divine. This tale mirrors the Nephilim as heroes of old, suggesting shared cultural motifs between the Mesopotamian and Hebrew traditions. Notably, the Book of Enoch also ties the Watchers to early Mesopotamian astronomy and metalwork, hinting at cross-cultural exchanges in the ancient Near East. Intriguingly, ancient Sumerian texts describe beings known as the Anunnaki, divine figures said to have descended from the heavens to rule humanity. These accounts, preserved on clay tablets, bear striking similarities to the Watchers and their offspring. Could the Nephilim be a Hebrew adaptation of older Mesopotamian myths? Artifacts from Canaan, the land where the Anakites were said to dwell, offer further clues. Pottery fragments and burial sites from the Bronze Age reveal a people of remarkable stature, both physically and culturally. Were these the Anakites described in Numbers 13:33, or are we merely finding the remnants of tall warriors romanticized in biblical lore? While the Nephilim are rooted in ancient history, their story has surprising implications for futuristic thinking. Let's step into the speculative realm. What if the Watchers were not angels but extraterrestrial visitors? This theory, popularized by the ancient astronaut hypothesis, suggests that advanced beings might have genetically modified early humans, resulting in the Nephilim. Could this explain their extraordinary size and abilities? Some theorists argue that the Nephilim were early experiments in creating hybrid species, a concept not far removed from modern advancements in genetic engineering. CRISPR technology, for example, enables us to edit human DNA, unlocking possibilities that were once the stuff of science fiction. Could the Nephilim represent a cautionary tale about playing God with genetics? Expanding further, imagine cities like those built by the Anakites or the Watchers as prototypes for sustainable megastructures. The biblical city of Babel, described as an ambitious project reaching the heavens, can be reimagined as a precursor to modern vertical cities. Could ancient myths about these beings inspire advancements in architecture, renewable energy, or even interstellar colonization? The Nephilim are not alone in their legend. Giants appear in the lore of nearly every ancient civilization, suggesting a deep psychological or historical root. In Celtic mythology, the Fomorians were a race of towering beings who waged war against the Tuatha Dé Danann, Ireland's mythical ancestors. Often described as one-eyed or grotesque, these giants symbolize chaos and destruction, a recurring theme in giant legends. Across the Pacific, the Solomon Islands are home to oral traditions of red-haired giants. These beings, described as 10 feet tall with glowing eyes, are said to inhabit remote jungles and caves. Locals treat them as real, not mythological, a stark contrast to Western skepticism. In South America, the Mapuche people of Chile speak of the Shuruf, giant humanoid creatures said to emerge from volcanoes. These beings are not only massive but terrifyingly powerful, reflecting the raw force of nature. Why do these myths persist? Anthropologists speculate that tales of giants may arise from human encounters with oversized skeletal remains, such as mammoths or prehistoric humans. Others believe these stories encode metaphors about power, ambition, and the dangers of excess. Could these global legends hint at a common experience, or even a common origin? The Nephilim and giants have left an indelible mark on today's entertainment landscape. From Hollywood blockbusters to video games, their influence is undeniable. For instance, Attack on Titan, a Japanese anime phenomenon, explores a world terrorized by giants who embody existential fears. Its themes of survival, betrayal, and humanity's limits resonate deeply with modern audiences. In gaming, titles like God of War and Shadow of the Colossus pit players against gigantic foes rooted in ancient mythology. These games capture the awe and terror that giants evoke, blending fantasy with historical influences. Films like Prometheus and Noah reinterpret the Nephilim through a futuristic or dramatic lens. In Prometheus, the engineers resemble Watchers, seeding life and altering evolution, while Noah presents the Watchers as fallen beings trapped in stone, a unique cinematic take on ancient lore. Even music and literature have embraced the theme. Bands like Mastodon and authors like Neil Gaiman draw inspiration from myths of giants, weaving them into narratives that feel both ancient and modern. This cultural fascination reflects our enduring curiosity about the extraordinary, the forbidden, and the forgotten. Throughout this exploration, we've uncovered tantalizing threads that connect the Nephilim to history, myth, and modern imagination. But the questions don't stop here. What do you think? Are the Nephilim relics of a forgotten past, metaphors for human ambition, or something else entirely? Share your theories in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. So, where does this leave us? The Nephilim remain a mystery, a crossroads where history, theology, and mythology intersect. Were they celestial hybrids, as some believe? Or are they the remnants of a long-lost chapter in human history, distorted by time and imagination. One thing is certain, their story resonates with us because it speaks to something universal: the fear of the unknown, the allure of the forbidden, and the quest for understanding. What do you think? Could the giants of old hold the key to a truth we're not yet ready to face? Share your theories in the comments, and let's keep this conversation alive. Who knows, perhaps the answers lie closer than we think. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the past. If you enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Together, we'll continue unraveling the mysteries of history, one story at a time. Until next time, stay curious.